Welcome back to our second video on writing equations in point-slope form. And we have 3 real-life application problems here to go through. And hopefully you will be able to apply what we've learned about the mumble-jumble algebraic equation of point-slope form, how we can apply that to real-world situations so that this algebraic equation of y and x1 and y1 and point slope formula and all this other stuff, how it comes together and makes more sense. Obviously, I want you to jot down any questions that you have so that you can come to class tomorrow and ask questions, because we're going to spend a lot of time on some real life problems and working these out so you understand, including the assignment. So ladies and gentlemen, starting out with number 6, it says the total cost for bowling includes a fee for shoe rental plus a fee per game. The cost of each game increases the price by $4. After 3 games, the total cost with shoe rental is $14. So we're going to be asked to write an equation to represent that total cost y, to rent shoes and bowl x games, and how much is shoe rental, and how is this represented in the equation. So we already know that our y is cost. Oops, I'm sorry about that. Our y is cost and our x is games. That's very important. So now we can go back, we can reread, and we can mark our text to help us with what's going on. And it says the total cost includes shoe rental and the fee per game. Okay, the cost of each game increases the price by $4. So what does that represent? Well, that $4 represents the cost of each game. And so that sounds like slope to me. $4 per game. So our slope is 4. And after 3 games, the total cost with shoe rental is $14. So they're giving us a point there. They're saying, hey, after 3 games, well, x is games, so we would put 3 in the x spot. And then it says the cost with the shoe rental is $14. And we know cost is y, so we can put 14 there. Now we have point and we have slope. And we can write the equation, and we can write it in slope-intercept form, because we're not going to graph from point-slope form, but point-slope form is going to help us get to the slope-intercept. And so, or you could do it the other way I showed you, but we're going to use the point-slope form because that's what this video is all about. So I'm going to say that y minus, and of course y1, if we label these points, x1, y1, would be 14, is equal to our slope, $4 a game, times x minus x1, which is 3 games. And then when we do the math, y minus 14 is equal to 4x minus 12. We're going to add 14 to both sides, and we're going to get y equals 4x plus 2. So there's the equation that represents the total cost y, with the cost for each game increasing by $4 plus the shoe rental. And so how much is the shoe rental? Well, our shoe rental is going to be our intercept, our y-intercept. So knowing our equation of y equals mx plus b, we start to understand that our y-intercept is going to be where we start. Well, we already start. Before we bowl any game, we got to rent those shoes. And so shoe rental is $2. How is that represented in the equation? It's represented by b, represented by the y-intercept. By the y-intercept. All right? I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Moving right along, we're going to do it again. It says for 4 months, you saved $25 a month. You now have $175 in your savings account. We're going to do a couple things here. One, again, we're going to write the equation of the line which represents your savings y in dollars in x months. And then we're going to draw the graph that shows the balance in your account after x months. So it's nice. They gave us this graph here, and it kind of helps out. And this graph shows a point. So that point helps us out. If we go over this graph and we go to this point, we can go down and see on the x, which represents months, and that's 4, and y over this way, 175, that's our balance in dollars. So we know the point is 4,175. So we have that in what they wrote to us, 4 and 175. So that's already graphed. That means the $25 a month, that has to be the slope. Slope has to be 25. And so we're going to be asked to write an equation. Well, of course, we're going to write that equation in slope-intercept form, but we're going to use point-slope form to do it. But before we get there, let's talk about this graph. Obviously, if you're at the graph, if you know the slope is 25, you could use the slope backwards. We've done that before in graphing to find another point. We could go backwards, so we can go down 25 and back a game and put a point. Down 25, back a game, put a point. Another 25, back a game, another point, another 25, back a game, and voila, we're right there. So we know that using slope backwards, our intercept was $75. So that was fairly easy to do in this graph because we didn't have to do it very many times. But if you're in a real world graph and you're dealing with much bigger numbers, you wouldn't be able to do that. But in this particular case, we were. So now let's find out, and we're going to write it. So this is x1, y1, and so we're going to write the equation. Y minus y1, that's $175, is equal to our slope, 25, times x minus an x1 is 4. And so we'll do the math. Y minus 175 is equal to 25x minus 100. Adding 175 to both sides, we get that y equals 25x plus 75. And we already knew that plus 75 because we had done it on the graph. And so voila, there's our answer for that. Putting that point-slope form equation to use to help us write the equation of the line that we understand how to graph with. It says, draw the graph that shows the balance in your account after X month. Well, now that we have the intercept of 75, we can draw it right through those points. And voila, there it goes. Just like that. Our last example, ladies and gentlemen, another real-life application, says you are pulling down your kite at a rate of 2 feet per second. After 3 seconds, your kite is 54 feet above you. Write an equation that represents the height, y, in feet, of the kite above you after X seconds. Graph the equation. At what height was your kite before you began pulling it down, and how long will it take you to pull down the kite all the way, down? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is mark our text and understand what they've told us. You're pulling down at a rate of 2 feet per second. That sounds like a rate to me, and in fact, it told us it was a rate, so we know that's got to be the slope. So our slope has to be what? Is it 2? Or is it negative 2? Yeah, I heard some of you say it. It is negative 2. We're pulling down. It's coming down, so it's got to be negative 2. And we have a point. They gave us a point. It says right here that after 3 seconds, it's 54 feet. We already know that x is seconds and feet is y. So we have 3 seconds and we have 54 feet is our y. There's our point and our slope. And so we can write the equation and we can just go right into it. Y, we're going to label this x1, y1. So y minus 54 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 3. Doing the math, y minus 54 equals negative 2x plus 6. Adding 54 to both sides, we get y equals negative 2x plus 60. Okay, well that's going to help us. It's going to help us graph it. One, we're going to come over to our graph, and we know that our y is our height. We always want to label, and that's in feet. And we know x is our time, and that's in seconds. And so when I count this up, I have 16 lines. Let's see, 60, and we're going to divide that by, I'm going to go by 4s, because I know 15 times 4 is 60. So I'm going to go 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64. And time, I'm going to think about this a different way. If I were to write this in standard form so I could get my intercept, I would understand that if I'm coming down at 2 feet per second and I got to come down 60 seconds, that's going to take me 30 seconds. Or excuse me, I'm going to come down 60 feet. That's going to take me 30 seconds. So I'm going across here. I'm going to go by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36 is on our graph. And so now I can graph, and I can start out with our intercept of 60, and right up here at 60. And if I'm coming down 2 for every second, but the first thing I know is after 3 seconds, our kite is 54 feet. So I can go right here to 3, all the way up to 54, which is going to be right there. There's going to be 54 right in the middle of that. So I already have that. I can now draw a line. Well, I'm going to take it, and I recognize that, again, if I knew it took 30 seconds, that I'm going to be right here. And so I can draw that line. Oops, I didn't draw it very well. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. Holy smokes, why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. Now I got it. Now a very pretty stride. You have a straight edge. You're going to be able to draw it much better than I am. And so we've graphed, when we wrote in our equation 2, we've graphed the equation. 3, at what height was your kite before you began pulling it down? We know that that was 60 feet because that's our y-intercept. And it says, how long will it take you to pull the kite all the way down to the ground? If we come over here to 30 seconds on the x-intercept, the x-intercept A is 30, so 30 seconds is how long it takes to hit the ground, pulling all the way down to you. Alrighty, so hopefully this helps, clears up a little bit by applying it to some real-life situations. Make sure you write down any questions you have using about point slope. And then, of course, check your notes, make sure they're complete with quality. You need to watch anything for more understanding, rewatch it. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, attitude and effort are everything. It is everything. Whether you understand it right now or not is not the point. 95 plus, who knows what percent, it's very high, don't understand it the first time they hear it and see it and write it down. We're going to hear it and see it again tomorrow. We're going to practice it. All right? So here's your last quick write. Make sure you pause the video so you can do all that, write all that down, and answer those questions, ladies and gentlemen. It is always a pleasure working with you. Thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow.